Hampshire is a county on the southern coast of England in the United Kingdom. The county town of Hampshire is Winchester, the former capital city of England. Hampshire is the most populous ceremonial county in the United Kingdom, with almost half of the county's population living within the South Hampshire conurbation, which includes the cities of Southampton and Portsmouth. The larger South Hampshire metropolitan area has a population of 1,547,000. Hampshire is notable for housing the birthplaces of the Royal Navy, British Army, and Royal Air Force. It is bordered by Dorset to the west, Wiltshire to the northwest, Berkshire to the north, Surrey to the northeast, and West Sussex to the east. The southern boundary is the coastline of the English Channel and the Solent, facing the Isle of Wight. Hampshire is the largest county in southeast England and remains the third largest shire county in the United Kingdom, despite losing more land than any other English county in all contemporary boundary changes. At its greatest size in 1890, Hampshire was the fifth largest county in England. It now has an overall area of 3,700 square kilometres, and measures about 86 kilometres east-west and 76 kilometres north-south. Hampshire's tourist attractions include many seaside resorts and two national parks, the New Forest and the South Downs. Hampshire has a long maritime history, and two of Europe's largest ports, Portsmouth and Southampton, lie on its coast. The county is famed as home of such writers as Jane Austen and Charles Dickens, as well as the birthplace of engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Etymology: Hampshire takes its name from the settlement that is now the city of Southampton. Southampton was known in Old English as Hampton, roughly meaning village town, so its surrounding area, or scir, became known as ́hæmpʃər. The old name was recorded in the Domesday Book as ́hæmpʃər, and it is from this spelling that the modern abbreviation, Hants, derives. From 1889 until 1959, the administrative county was named the County of Southampton and has also been known as Southamptonshire. History: Prehistory. Until the Norman conquest, the region is believed to have been continuously occupied since the end of the last ice age about 12,000 BP. At this time, Britain was still attached to the European continent and was predominantly covered with deciduous woodland. The first inhabitants came overland from Europe. These were anatomically and behaviorally modern humans, Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. Over several thousand years, the climate got progressively warmer, and sea levels rose. The English Channel, which started out as a river, was a major inlet by 8000 BCE, although Britain was still connected to Europe by a land bridge across the North Sea until 6500 BCE. Notable sites from this period include Boulder Cliff. Agriculture had arrived in southern Britain by 4000 BCE, and with it a Neolithic culture. Some deforestation took place at that time, although it was during the Bronze Age, beginning in 2200 BCE, that this became more widespread and systematic. Hampshire has few monuments to show from these early periods. Although nearby Stonehenge was built in several phases at some time between 3100 BCE and 2200 BCE. In the very late Bronze Age, fortified hilltop settlements known as hill forts began to appear in large numbers in many parts of Britain, including Hampshire, and these became more and more important in the early and Middle Iron Age. Many of these are still visible in the landscape today and can be visited. Notably Danebury Rings, the subject of a major study by archaeologist Barry Cunliffe. It is maintained that by this period the people of Britain predominantly spoke a Celtic language, and the culture shared much in common with the Celts described by classical writers. Hill forts largely declined in importance in the second half of the 2nd century BCE, with many being abandoned. It was probably around this period that the first recorded invasion of Britain took place, as southern Britain was largely conquered by warrior elites from Belgic tribes of northeast and Gaul. Whether these two events are linked to the decline of hill forts is unknown. By the Roman conquest, the oppidum inventor, modern-day Winchester, was the de facto regional administrative centre. Winchester was however of secondary importance to the Roman-style town of Calleva, modern Silchester, built further north by a dominant Belgic polity known as the Attribution in the 50s BCE. Julius Caesar invaded southeastern England briefly in 55 and again in 54 BCE, but he never reached Hampshire. Notable sites from this period include Hengistbury Head, which was a major port. There is a Museum of the Iron Age in Andover. The Romans invaded Britain again in 43 CE, and Hampshire was incorporated into the Roman province of Britannia very quickly. It is generally believed their political leaders allowed themselves to be incorporated peacefully. Then it became the capital of the administrative polity of the Belgae, which included most of Hampshire and Wiltshire and reached as far as Bath. It is not recorded whether the people of Hampshire played any role in Boudicca's rebellion of 6061 CE, but there is evidence of burning in Winchester dated to or around this period. For most of the next 3 centuries, southern Britain enjoyed relative peace. The later part of the Roman period saw most towns build defensive walls. A pottery industry based in the New Forest was exported widely across southern Britain. There was a fortification near Southampton called Clausentum, part of the Saxon shore forts, traditionally seen as defences against maritime raids by Germanic tribes. The Romans officially withdrew from Britain in 410 CE. Records are unreliable for the next 200 years. But in this time southern Britain went from being Brythonic to being English, and Hampshire emerged as the centre of what was to become the most powerful kingdom in Britain, the Kingdom of Wessex. Evidence of early Anglo-Saxon settlement has been found at Clausentum and on the Thames at Dorchester, dated to the 5th century, and by the 7th century, the population of Hampshire was predominantly English-speaking. It is also around this period that the administrative region of Hampshire seems to appear. The name is attested as ~hæmpʃər in 755, and Albany Major suggested that the traditional western and northern borders of Hampshire may even go back to the very earliest conquest of Cerdic, legendary founder of Wessex, at the very beginning of the 6th century. Wessex gradually expanded westwards into Brythonic Dorset and Somerset in the 7th century. A statue in Winchester celebrates the powerful King Alfred, who repulsed the Vikings and stabilized the region in the 9th century. He was also a great scholar, who commissioned the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a powerful tool in the development of the English identity. King Alfred proclaimed himself King of England in 886, but it was not until 927 that Athelstan of Wessex officially controlled the whole of England. Middle Ages onwards, by the Norman conquest, London had overtaken Winchester as the largest city in England, thanks in part to Alfred the Great's investments in infrastructure, and after the Norman conquest King William I made it his capital. The centre of political power moved away from Hampshire, although Winchester remained a city of importance. It was the proximity of the New Forest to Winchester that made it such a prized royal hunting forest. Indeed, King William Rufus was famously killed in suspicious circumstances while hunting there. The county was recorded in the Domesday Book divided into 4400s. From the 12th century the ports grew in importance, fueled by trade with the continent, wool and cloth manufacture in the county, and the fishing industry, and a shipbuilding industry was established. By 1523 at the latest, the population of Southampton had outstripped that of Winchester. Over several centuries a series of castles and forts were constructed along the coast of the Solent to defend the harbours at Southampton and Portsmouth. These include the Roman Porchester Castle, which overlooks Portsmouth Harbour, and a series of forts built by Henry VIII, including Hurst Castle. situated on a sand spit at the mouth of the Solent, Calshot Castle on another spit at the mouth of Southampton Water, and Netley Castle. Southampton and Portsmouth remained important harbours when rivals, such as Poole and Bristol, declined, as they are amongst the few locations that combine shelter with deep water. Southampton has been host to many famous ships, including the Mayflower and the Titanic, the latter being staffed largely by natives of Southampton. Hampshire played a crucial role in the Second World War due to the large Royal Navy naval base at Portsmouth, the Army camp at Aldershot and the military Netley Hospital on Southampton Water, as well as its proximity to the Army training ranges on Salisbury Plain and the Isle of Purbeck. Supermarine. The designers of the Spitfire and other military aircraft were based in Southampton, which led to severe bombing of the city. Aldershot remains one of the British Army's main permanent camps. Farnborough is a major centre for the aviation industry. Although the Isle of Wight has at times been part of Hampshire, it has been administratively independent for over a century, obtaining a county council of its own in 1890. The Isle of Wight became a full ceremonial county in 1974. Apart from a shared police force, there are now no formal administrative links between the Isle of Wight and Hampshire, though many organisations still combine Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. The towns of Bournemouth and Christchurch also fall within the traditional county of Hampshire, but were transferred to Dorset in the local government reorganisation of 1974. The boundary was changed again in 1992, when South Tidworth was transferred to Wiltshire. The City Museum in Winchester covers the Iron Age and Roman periods, the Middle Ages, and the Victorian period over 3 floors. United States. Hampshire was the departure point of some of those later to settle on the east coast of what is now the United States, in the 17th century, giving its name in particular to the state of New Hampshire. The counties of Isle of Wight and Southampton in Virginia reflect the origins of some of the earliest Jamestown settlers. Portsmouth, Virginia, appropriately enough, is home to one of the U.S. Navy's main dockyards, the Norfolk Naval Yard. Governance. With the exceptions of the unitary authorities of Portsmouth and Southampton, Hampshire is governed by Hampshire County Council based in Winchester, with several non-metropolitan districts beneath it, and for the majority of the county, parish councils or town councils at the local level. The districts of Hampshire are the following: Basingstoke and Deane, City of Winchester, East Hampshire, Eastleigh, Fareham, Gosport, Hart, Havant, New Forest, City of Portsmouth, Rushmore, City of Southampton, Test Valley. The county also contains 2 national parks, the first covering the New Forest, and therefore governance of this area is carried out by a National Park Authority as well as the New Forest District Council. The second, the newer National Park for the South Downs, which covers the chalk downlands from Winchester eastwards, which embraces a large number of local council areas across 3 counties: Hampshire, West and East Sussex. Economy. Hampshire is a somewhat affluent county, with a gross domestic product of £32.3 billion in 2005. In 2006, Hampshire had a GDP per capita of £19,300, comparable with the UK as a whole and slightly below the South East England figure of £19,600. Portsmouth and Winchester have the biggest job densities in the whole county, and therefore there is a high level of commuting into the cities from towns such as Hook, or even Mitchell-Dever. Southampton has the highest number of total jobs, and commuting both into and out of the city is high. The county has a lower level of unemployment than the national average, at 1.9%, when the national rate was 3.3%. And as of March 2005 has fallen to 1.1%. 39% are employed by large firms, compared with a national average of 42%. Hampshire has a considerably higher than national average employment in high-tech industries, but average levels in knowledge-based industry. 25.21% of the population work in the public sector. Many rural areas of Hampshire have traditionally been reliant on agriculture, particularly dairy farming. Although the significance of agriculture as a rural employer and rural wealth creator has declined since the first half of the 20th century, agriculture currently employs 1.32% of the rural population. The New Forest area is a national park, and tourism is a significant economic segment in this area, with 7.5 million visitors in 1992. The South Downs and the cities of Portsmouth, Southampton and Winchester also attract tourists to the county. Southampton Boat Show is one of the biggest annual events held in the county, and attracts visitors from throughout the country. In 2003, the county had a total of 31 million day visits, and 4.2 million longer stays. The urban cities of Southampton and Portsmouth are both significant urban ports, with Southampton handling a large proportion of the national container freight and Portsmouth housing a large Royal Navy base. The maritime docks have traditionally been large employers in these maritime urban cities. Though again mechanization has forced diversification of the urban maritime economy. Demographics. At the census 2001, the ceremonial county recorded a population of 1,644,249, of which 1,240,103 were in the administrative county. 217,445 were in the Unitary Authority of Southampton, and 186,701 were in Portsmouth. The population of the administrative county grew 5.6% from the 1991 census. Southampton grew 6.2%, while Portsmouth remained unchanged, compared with 2.6% for England and Wales as a whole. Eastleigh and Winchester grew fastest at 9% each. 96.73% of residents were white British, falling to 92.37% in Southampton. The significant ethnic minorities are Asian at 1.34% and mixed race at 0.84%. 0.75% of residents were migrants from outside the UK. 73.86% stated their religion as Christianity and 16.86% were not religious. Significant minority religions were Islam and Hinduism. The county has a high level of car ownership, with only 15.7% having no access to a private car compared with 26.8% for England and Wales. The county has a lower than average use of trains and buses but a higher than average use of bicycles and cars. The table below shows the population change up to the 2011 census, contrasting the previous census. It also shows the proportion of residents in each district reliant upon lowest income in, or joblessness benefits. The national average proportion of which was 4.5% as at August 2012, the year for which latest datasets have been published. It can be seen that the most populous district of Hampshire is New Forest district, containing many villages and the towns of Fawley, Hythe and Dibden, Lymington, Lyndhurst, Milford-on-Sea, New Milton, Ringwood and Tottenham Ealing. Education. The school system in Hampshire is comprehensive. Geographically inside the Hampshire are 24 independent schools. Southampton has 3 and Portsmouth has 4. Few Hampshire schools have sixth forms, which varies by district council. There are 14 further education colleges within the Hampshire, including 6 graded as outstanding by Ofsted: Alton College, Brockenhurst College, Farnborough College of Technology, Farnborough Sixth Form College, Peter Symonds College, Queen Mary's College, and South Downs College. There are 4 universities, namely the University of Southampton, Southampton Solent University, the University of Portsmouth and the University of Winchester. Farnborough College of Technology awards University of Surrey accredited degrees. Politics. Hampshire is divided into 18 parliamentary constituencies. In 2010, 14 of these were represented by Conservative members of Parliament, 2 by the Liberal Democrats and 2 by Labour. Labour represented the largest urban centre, holding both Southampton constituencies. The Liberal Democrats held Portsmouth South and Eastleigh. In the 2015 general election, every Hampshire seat except Southampton Test was won by the Conservatives. The Conservatives represent a mix of rural and urban areas. Aldershot, Basingstoke, East Hampshire, Fareham, Gosport, Havant, Meon Valley, North East Hampshire, North West Hampshire, New Forest East, New Forest West, Portsmouth North, Romsey and Southampton North and Winchester. At the 2013 local elections for Hampshire County Council, the Conservative Party had a 37.51% share of the votes. The Liberal Democrats had 21.71%. The UK Independence Party had 24.61% and Labour 10%. As a result, 45 Conservatives, 17 Liberal Democrats, 10 UKIP, 4 Labour and 1 Community Campaign councillor sit on the County Council. Southampton City Council, which is a separate unitary authority, has 28 Labour, 16 Conservative, 2 councillors against the cuts and 2 Liberal Democrat councillors. Portsmouth City Council, also a UA, has 25 Liberal Democrat, 12 Conservative and 5 Labour councillors. Hampshire also has its own County Youth Council and is an independent youth-run organisation. It meets once a month around Hampshire and aims to give the young people of Hampshire a voice. It also has numerous district and borough youth councils, including Basingstoke and Dean Youth Council, along with the Youth Council for the Test Valley District. Youth Express. Wildlife. Hampshire has wildlife typical of the island of Great Britain. The River Test has a growing number of otters, although other areas of the county have quite low numbers. There are reports of wild boar across the county. The New Forest is known for its ponies, which have free rein over much of the area. One distinguishing feature is that Hampshire has a large free-roaming herd of red deer, including more than 6,500 stags during busy seasons. The stag population is managed by the government and hunting is carefully regulated.